Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to dig into the materials that are, well, quietly powering our entire future. Everything from the phone in your hand to the electric car you might be driving pretty soon. Okay, let's get right into it.
You know, everything in our modern, high-tech world has to start somewhere. And a lot of the time, it starts right here, in a massive hole in the ground. These are the kinds of places we almost never see, but they are the absolute foundation of the entire global economy.
And right now, that foundation is trembling. We're in the middle of a seismic shift, and it's being driven by two absolutely colossal forces: the huge transition to green energy and the non-stop digital revolution. And here's the thing. These forces aren't just changing what we build, they're changing what we fight over. It's creating a totally new kind of global competition, one filled with incredible opportunities and some pretty profound uncertainty.
So let's pull back the curtain on all this new technology. What is the hidden engine that's making it all run? Well, as you're about to see, it all comes down to minerals.
That's a great question to start with, right? Because unlike the old systems that just burned hydrocarbons for fuel, these new clean energy technologies demand huge quantities of minerals right from the get-go. They're just vastly more mineral intensive.
And that brings us to this term you're hearing more and more: critical minerals. They're called critical for a reason. They are completely indispensable. We're not just talking about being important for industry anymore. Their strategic value has been elevated to the level of a geopolitical asset. They are absolutely essential for national security.
Let me just give you a sense of the scale we're talking about here. To build just one electric vehicle, it takes 5 times the amount of minerals as a regular gas-powered car. 5 times. Just let that sink in for a second. All the copper, the lithium, the nickel, the graphite, it adds up unbelievably fast.
Okay, and if that 5x number got your attention, this next one is just staggering. If the world is actually serious about meeting its net zero climate goals by 2050, the demand for key battery minerals like lithium could surge by up to 75 times what it was back in 2020. I mean, that isn't just growth. That is a complete revolution in demand.
Now, what's really fascinating when you look at this chart is how it visualizes that explosion. We're not talking about some gentle upward slope. For lithium, graphite, and cobalt, which are really the heart of today's batteries, we are looking at a near vertical climb in demand. Meeting this is going to be one of the greatest industrial challenges of our lifetime for sure.
So the big question is, with demand about to just skyrocket, where on earth are we going to get all this stuff? Well, to answer that, we've got to zoom out and look at the global map and really understand this high-stakes race for supply. Okay, pay attention, because this right here is the aha moment of this whole explainer. On the left, you see where the minerals are actually mined. And it's pretty spread out, right? You've got Australia, Latin America, Africa. But now look at the chart on the right. This is where those raw materials get refined into stuff we can actually use. And it's almost all one color. China overwhelmingly dominates the processing stage. So the key point, the thing to remember, is this. It's not just about who has the rocks in the ground, it's about who has the factories.
And that last slide perfectly sets up the core problem. The entire supply chain is incredibly fragile. You've got mining concentrated in just a few, sometimes politically sensitive regions. Then you have China basically acting as the world's refinery, which creates a massive dependency for everyone else. And then, on top of all that, you have the risks of sanctions, export bans, and the simple, hard fact that opening a new mine takes forever.
I mean, just look at this timeline. From the moment you even start looking for a deposit to the day you get the first piece of ore out of the ground, you're looking at over a decade. And honestly, it's often closer to 20 years. This makes it pretty much impossible for supply to react quickly to the kind of insane demand surges we were just looking at. There's just no slack in the system.
So this frantic scramble for materials, it creates massive uncertainty and volatility. So while all these nations are racing to build the future, they're also desperately searching for ways to preserve their wealth through it. And that brings us to a totally different kind of strategic asset, one that isn't built for industry, but for stability.
This is what we call a strategic asset. See, it's not used to build a battery, it's used to build financial security. In a world full of fragile supply chains and geopolitical tension, assets like these are what you hold to weather the storm, to provide stability when everything else feels uncertain.
And when it comes to weathering economic storms, humanity has, for a very long time, turned to the original, the ultimate strategic asset: gold. You might think it's old-fashioned, but in an age of digital everything, its role as a safe haven is arguably more relevant than it's ever been.
According to the World Gold Council, gold's strategic value really boils down to these three key things. It has a long track record of delivering returns, it helps improve portfolio diversification, and, this is critical, it provides liquidity. These are the bedrock qualities that nations and investors are looking for when the new resource map seems so volatile.
What's so interesting here is what makes gold truly unique. It is no one else's liability. Think about that. Unlike a bond, or even the cash in your bank, there's no counterparty that can default on you. It carries zero credit risk. This is what makes it fundamentally different from an industrial commodity, whose value is tied directly to those fragile supply chains we were just talking about. All right, so let's bring these two stories together now. On one hand, we've got this frantic race for the materials to physically build the future. And on the other, we have this timeless quest for an asset to preserve wealth through that future. Two very different races, but they are both shaping the exact same world.
This table just sums it all up perfectly. On one side, you've got critical minerals. Their use? Industrial. Their strategic value? It's all geopolitical. Controlling them is about national power. And their biggest challenge is that fragile supply chain, those bottlenecks. This is the race to build the future. Now, on the other side, you have gold. Its use is financial. Its strategic value is economic stability, being a safe haven. And its challenge is navigating market fluctuations. This is the race to preserve wealth.
And that really leaves us with a final thought. As we're building this new world, one powered by these incredible materials, it forces us to ask a really big question. What other resources, maybe ones we can't even imagine today, will become the next flashpoint in the global race for the future?
Thanks for watching.